So so the whole concept of limit price um, is, and sometimes we call it a reservation price. And this is the thing that you kind of want to do when you go through, and it doesn't matter if it happens to be in labor economics or environmental economics or industrial organization or any of the courses that you guys are going to see in the upper division in the economics department. Different authors will use different language based on just what's going on in their discipline. And so you would think, oh, it's econ, they're all going to use the same terminology, but it varies slightly. But here, the definition of limit price is really, or I don't know, again, if you've heard the term reservation price, but it's the price at which in this case for demand, the buyer reserves not to interact with the market, right? So not interacting with the market means that, at any price of 53 or above, right, the quantity that they would demand would be zero. So you can find it. I think it was Brian M. You said, or was it Brian M. or Brian O? I know if I put Q is equal to zero, I'll get the right answer, right? Does that make sense? That, like, the meaning of limit price?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, when your quantity demanded, the lowest price at which your quantity demanded dropped to zero, because right, any price above this, the quantity would also be zero. Does that make sense, Celine?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So team number two, and so one of the things I'll tell you all here, kind of like at the beginning, is that it's a good idea as we do things in lecture and in your reading, and you notice like some books. I don't know if the book that we're using actually does this. They'll actually have like a vocabulary list at the end of the chapter. But one of the things I was telling you all about, I think the last time we got together, is that there's jargon in our discipline, and there's a lot of it. All disciplines have this jargon, so they can have this easy way of communicating between people in the community that forms the profession. So that means we have all this specialized vocabulary, and to take note of what the terms are that are kind of special in our discipline, and what they mean. So anyway, okay. So team number two. So consider this, and what's the maximum quantity that we would be demanded at any price? And I think I had Keontae and Hung, and were you in this group, Daniel, or was it somebody else? The list changes a little bit as people sign in. So now's your chance, Keontae.
Did you want me to give the answer or explain the answer?
Well, so what do you remember? Who else was on your team?
I do not.
You do not. Hung was on your team, I remember. Daniel, were you on this team?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So what do you think, Daniel, about this one?
I honestly wasn't sure how to do it, but I was what I did is I set PB to 0.
Okay, and can you tell me why you did that?
Let's see. Well, it was saying what the maximum quantity at any price. Then I wanted to see if the price was 0, what would QB be equal to?
Okay, and
process.
Does that make sense to you, or no? I mean, you're saying you don't know why exactly, but I mean, try to walk through it, right? We have this law of demand, right? And do you remember what the law of demand says?
Not exactly.
Okay. Well, this is supposed to be consumer behavior, and you're a consumer, right?
Yeah.
So when the price goes up, do you buy more or less?
When the price goes up, you buy less.
Yeah, right. And when the price goes down, you buy
More.
more. Yeah, that's the law of demand. And, I mean, honestly, not everything, but most everything in economics should, at least on the consumer side, it should reflect your own personal experience, because we're supposed to be modeling the behavior of an average person. Unless you can, and you probably think you're above average, and that's fine, but that's not in the sense in which we mean average here, right? But if you're like a regular person, Daniel, then you should behave like the consumers in our discipline, because otherwise, right, we just have a bad model, remember? So if unless like I said, you're very unusual in the way that you behave in economic situations, your intuition should match what it is that regular consumers in our model are doing. Otherwise, like I said, our model is likely wrong. So you should be able to reason through a lot of this. And if the price of something is 0, right, then as the price goes down, you consume more and more and more. And then, like the lowest price we can imagine is probably 0, right? Stuff's free. And so are you getting ready to get married, Daniel?
No.
No, not yet. Not yet. Yeah. So my son just got married, and he's 23. He turns 24 in about a month. And he and his wife decided not to have an open bar at their wedding. You know why?
I'm guessing the price.
Well, it wasn't just that they didn't want to pay for that, but if you have an open bar and you're 23 and you invite a bunch of your friends, what do you think is going to happen?
Are you drunk?
Yeah, like people, right. They're gonna have the maximum quantity, right?
The price is 0 for, I see.
Yeah, they're just gonna,
saying.
go crazy, right? And
Yeah.
and so I mean, if you want people to have drinks available, and then like that's one thing, and as long as they're not too expensive. But if you really don't want them to go crazy, then you have some price above 0. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense to you. Does anybody have a question about it? Chianti, you wanted to give the answer, and Daniel and I talked about the method. Do you want to give us the answer, Chianti, or?
Yeah, I got 8.83, which is just 53/6.
Yeah, and what about you, Hung? Do you agree with the answer?
I got no idea for this question.
Okay. Well, did you listen to the discussion? Yeah, at prices equal to 0, then consumers will consume the maximum. So you said PB equals to 0. Does that make sense, Hung?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, then you would get, and this is what Chianti got. You put PB equal to 0 and you solve for QB. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any question about it, or?
Oh, so we let PP equal to 0 first, then we solve.
For QB.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, we're setting PB equal to 0 because the law of demand tells us that as the price goes lower, people will purchase more and more, and the lowest price we can have. Has anybody ever seen any prices below 0? This is just a general question.
I think this year or last, I think last year, oil went down to 0 for a little bit.
Okay, but have you seen it below 0?
I think for a little bit it was below 0 too.
Mm,
It was like a negative, if I wasn't mistaken, but I'm not sure what that meant.
yeah. So let's try to walk through that, right? So when you're a buyer, right, you usually pay some money and then you receive some good in return, right? Let's just talk about, the gas station, right? So now it would be kind of a little bit interesting to really tease this out if oil prices actually went negative. I kind of doubt that, but I do know that oil prices did behave in a weird way because of COVID. But like you're saying, James, it kind of is a little bit strange. But so let's chat about this for a minute, James, because it was you who brought up the oil price thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're at the gas station, right, you pay, like I just finished paying like $4 a gallon for gas. You pay money and then you get some good in return, right?
Mhm.
Now, if you went to the gas station, it said the price was negative $1, right? What would that mean? That would mean that, can you want to go ahead and try to work that out?
If it was negative $1, I would just assume it's free gas, or the guy that was changing the thing made an error.
Yeah, okay. Well, so actually the way that negative prices work is they're paying you to take the item. So you go to the gas station and you fill up with 20 gallons and they give you $20 to take that 20 gallons away, right?
Right, that makes sense.
But can you think about why they wouldn't, why they would do that in some like strange circumstance?
Because they have like too much supply, and they
Well,
can, and the storage would probably be, I'm assuming that it'd probably be like storage, so a lot of it would probably go to waste or something, or maybe
yeah,
it's expensive.
yeah, like for some reason they can't store the gas anymore. And I'll give you an example, and that's the sort of thing we're talking about is a sort of thing that did happen in the oil market in the United States. And so some weird things did happen with the price of oil. But it was that, all the storage was full and they got it coming down the pipeline, and there may be some technical reasons why they need to free up some storage. So in the case of the gas station, right? I don't know if you know this, but gas stations have underground storage tanks. I don't know if you've ever seen the big trucks come and fill them up. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, with the hoses and stuff.
Yeah. So, but right, I don't know if you know, it was a big thing in the 1990s, and I think that they've done a better job now. But some of the older gas stations had those underground storage tanks, and they leaked. And when obviously there's a hazard, but more than that, when gasoline like gets into soil and potentially in groundwater, it's poisonous, it's toxic. So I, I don't know. And so have you ever been to England, James?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, so you know, in other countries they call gas different things, but one of the things that gas is like referred to over in Europe sometimes is benzene. But here, benzene is a molecule that you find in gasoline, and I'm not an organic chemist, so I can't tell you exactly what, but it is and how much of it is. But that's the thing that most of the reports from like the Environmental Protection Agency cite when they're concerned about underground storage tanks for gasoline that leak, is they create, you know, these pockets of benzene in the soil. Maybe it'll get into groundwater, and it's a carcinogen. It causes cancer. So they get really worried about that. And I don't know if you've ever seen, I said this was in the 1990s. So in these underground storage tanks would start to leak, and you'd leak, and you'd see gas stations that were shut down. And then they would come and they would dig up the old tank and they remove a bunch of the soil. They do, you know, environmental, they call it remediation, to try to remove all of the contaminated soil, and they put in a new tank, and it's really expensive to do that. But you can imagine if you're running a gas station and you get this notice, your gas station has a leaky tank and it's going to be shut down in 3 days, and you have this gasoline, right? You might pay people to take it away, right? It might be the easiest option to just have them take it away. So you might post a negative price, right? You know, with every, you know, you fill up your tank for free and I give you $10 because that's the easiest way to get rid of it. And this is more important than the general or the specific example. The general idea is negative prices happen when the supplier, right, has something the supplier does not want. And so they're willing to pay people to take it away. Then prices can go negative. And those sorts of situations are very rare, so we don't consider them in this class. But can you think of the general category? If you're going to say, like, what's something you, James, pay to have people take away?
Say you're like remodeling the house, or you're like making changes in the house, or like chopping down a big tree in like a backyard or something. You would like pay people to come pick up the junk or all
Yeah,
the
it's
stuff.
trash, right? It's
Yeah.
garbage. Yeah. So yeah, that's the general idea, is the only place where we normally see negative prices is garbage as the general category. Now it could be toxic waste, it could be, as you said, it could be tree trimmings, it could be you know, the garbage. And I don't know if you live with your mom and dad or you live in your own apartment or whatever, but almost everybody pays for trash service, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know that some of the stuff in there is valuable too, right? But you still just like take it away. So it's, yeah, it's the whole economics of trash is a special case where you can get negative prices. So if you ever see negative prices, just think, oh, this is like trash, and you'll get the rest of it. Does anybody have any questions about that? No. Okay, so let's go to question number 3. Okay, so question number 3, what's the quantity demanded at a price of 5? Who had that?
Basically I set PB to 5 equals 52 minus 5 PB.
Oh, so James and I think Josu and Omar had this question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you explain the methodology, Omar. What did you get?
I basically just put 5 as PB, and then I solved the QB.
Yeah, so what answer did you get?
I got 47/5 or 9.4.
Okay, So 9.4. What about you, Josu? Did you get the same thing?
I got the same thing, yeah.
Okay, let's see. There you go. Okay, good job. Good job. I'm clapping for everybody so far. So let's try to do number 4 really quickly. Oh, here's a new term. WTP. Okay, so who had this question? I
had
think
a
we had,
question.
yeah, Riley and Scott. Okay, so Scott and so what did you do, Scott?
I plugged in, so they're trying to find willingness to pay, just a specific value. So I plugged in 5 for the quantity
Okay,
and solved to get 27.
and what about you, Riley? Did you do the same thing?
I did do the same thing.
Okay, good. So does anybody know what WTP stands for? No.
The willingness to pay.
Yeah, right. And so Scott, where have you heard that term? Did you
Through the
something?
book.
It's in the book, yeah. Okay, yeah. So willingness to pay, but I will tell you all something, right? So it's the value of the demand function at a particular quantity, or if you graph it, it's the height of the demand function at a particular quantity. So you do plug the 5 in, and you're just calculating what's PB, because that's going to be the vertical dimension for the demand curve. But willingness to pay, if you think about it, okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. Scott, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Sorry.
Okay. So let's say this is your 5th t-shirt, right? And so you said you plug in the Q is equal to 5 and you get 27, right? So at a price of 27, you're willing to buy 5 t-shirts, and your willingness to pay for the 5th t-shirt is 27. I don't know if you have any t-shirts or not. Do you have any t-shirts, Scott?
I do.
Yeah. So it's funny. So my daughter is close. I have a couple of all my kids are close to you guys' ages. I told you my son's 23. I got another daughter that's 21, and I have another daughter that's going to be 19 soon. So, yeah. But you know what I noticed about my 19-year-old daughter in particular, because I see her more than the other ones. So she's wearing all these t-shirts, right? But they're t-shirts with like bands and beer labels and things like that from when I was a kid, you know, like the rock band AC/DC,
Coors.
Kiss, yeah, Coors beer and stuff like that. And so like that's kind of trendy, I guess. But you know, she pays like a good money for them. You know, she goes to, you know, these different stores you guys are probably familiar with, or she buys this stuff online, but it's not cheap. So like $27, yeah, she would pay that for like a little t-shirt. So this example kind of works out well. But I'll tell you this. Okay, so let's just talk about a specific t-shirt. Is there a t-shirt that you buy, like, or have bought, like, that cost you about $27?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. My wife buys a lot of my t-shirts. My willingness to pay for a t-shirt is very low.
Okay, but she's bought you some cool t-shirts that she
Hers
likes.
is very high. Yeah.
Okay. So can you describe one of the t-shirts for us?
I got one that I do like. It was a kind of like a navy blue, and it says data on it. I got it for Father's Day.
Okay, very nice.
And
Very
then that
nice.
one has a really high value.
Okay, so let's just say that the price of that t-shirt was $27,
Mhm.
right? And that's your willingness to pay for it, right? But would you also be willing to pay, now think about the language, would you be willing to pay $20 for it? Would you be willing to pay? Yeah, right? So 27 is not just your willingness to pay, it's shorthand for your maximum willingness to pay, meaning that you're willing to pay at most 27. And if we raise the price above that, you're not going to buy the blue Dada t-shirt.
Yes.
So that's the important thing, is when you see willingness to pay and it's associated with a particular quantity, and that's the height of the demand curve, if you move the price any higher than that, the quantity goes down and that unit's no longer purchased. So we'll talk about this more specifically in lecture, but the height of the demand curve gives you what we call the maximum marginal willingness to pay for a good. Okay, and I'll end it there, and